The Twilight series of books and the movies have all been incredibly successful financially. And why not? All the elements of a great romance are there. There's the fair maiden in distress being rescued over and over again by a knight in shining armor. But in this case, we might say a male in shining skin. There's also the star-crossed lovers, the father discouraging the love, not understanding his daughter's love for this particular male. There's another element too. The young teenager has two incredibly powerful and attractive males vying for her love. There's the element of danger. There's the element of competition, and no one knows how it's going to end ultimately. A great combination to get a great number of fans involved in this series, whether it's the books or the movies. Now, I must admit, I come from the old school, where the only good undead vampire is a dead undead vampire, where Count Dracula, that nefarious monster, would flee at the very sight of the cross. And holy water, forget it. Holy water would simply get his skin sizzling. The classic vampire dreaded daylight because it would destroy his evil. In this case, daylight, sunlight, simply makes the vampire look even more glittering and glamorous. Well, this series and the series of movies is intriguing. Here we have good vampires and bad vampires. In this series of movies, there is an interesting element. First of all, there's no drinking, there's no smoking, and because the vampire is old-fashioned, there's no premarital sex, much to the frustration of the young maiden. Also, in the latest movie, Eclipse, there is cooperation between enemies to accomplish a goal. All of those things are very intriguing elements. Nevertheless, there is something fundamentally wrong with the love affair. The young maiden is obsessed by a being that has killed over and over again in the past. And although in the present he's a reformed killer and will only drink animal blood, there is something fundamentally wrong with such a romance. Girls, I would say this. Steer clear of the bullies, the violent males in your life. Don't suspect that you're going to be able to fundamentally reform them. The grace of God can, but it's very dangerous to fall in love with such an individual. There's so much domestic violence in the world today that why put yourself at risk of anything like that happening? Now, it's hard, I know, to find any male that's willing to sit in a field of flowers and listen to you recite poetry, hanging on your every word. But don't get so involved in your love life that you want to lose your own. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. And you don't want to get so involved with the love of another person that you reject all of the love of your family and friends and are willing to die for it. This is something that is unhealthy and you have to be very leery of. Now, having said all of that, where do you go in your life? Well, you always move towards the light and you always move towards a love that will enhance the love you have for all other people and for God, and not detract from it. Now, in this series, I have to say there is a great deal of adventure, conflict, battle scenes. In the latest movie, she begins to learn more and more explicitly what's wrong with being part of the undead and the downsides of being a vampire. And this is an important element in her decision-making process. Nevertheless, her obsessive-compulsive hanging on to this particular love is not one that should be emulated in the real world. Ladies, live your lives to the full, love others, and in the process find yourself and your independence, and not be totally dependent on any individual human being, but totally dependent on the God who does love us all.